on a cinnamon roll recipe. You can be a huge
So Alex, when we started the Young Women's Leadership Summit, it was 75 people, and it looks to be a lot more than that now. This is the largest ever gathering of young conservative women, I think, in the history of the country. And it's nice to be here in person, no masks, none of that nonsense.
That's right. We can see all of your beautiful faces, and gosh, conservative women are so much better looking, aren't we, Charlie?
You said it. So look, this conference is about all of you, about empowerment, about courage, about doing the right thing. So I'm going to leave it to Alex and all of you to have an amazing event, and we'll be back tonight. And I just want to say, meet as many people as you possibly can. Remember, there are only 2 genders, and this conference is all about young women empowerment. So God bless you guys. Thank you. That's surreal. That is surreal. Oh my gosh. What Charlie was saying, we have actually, since our last YWLS, we've had an over 80% increase in attendees this year. This is the year of the conservative woman, or the cute-servative woman. I am just so hyped, and so I really want to know who I'm talking to, so I want to get to know you guys. Get really loud if this is your first Turning Point event ever. Oh my gosh, okay, all right. Get really loud if you are a high school attendee. Love that, I love that. College cute-servatives? What about our career-servatives? That was me. My first YWLS, I was a career-servative. I was working in radio, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that if you're coming to the gala tomorrow night. Is anybody coming to see Candace Owens tomorrow? Oh my gosh, I am so excited about that. And yes, I will be wearing something epic in pink tomorrow night. But I have the pink shoes on tonight, so I want to tell you a little bit about the theme with this conference. You may have noticed there's a little bit of a theme, right? Besides pink, there's a Barbie theme, right? And we love that. We love to see that. And so I want to tell you a little bit about how we came to the conclusion that we wanted to do this Barbie theme and what that means to a conservative woman and why we would choose somebody like Barbie to represent the conservative movement. So I was kind of thinking when I started, brainstorming ideas for YWLS, I was thinking about, two of the core principles of the conservative movement are free markets and capitalism, right? And so the first person that came to my mind was Barbie. And Charlie was like, oh, here we go. From the moment, the first day that I walked into the Turning Point office, hot pink lipstick, and I was so excited and raring to go, and I said, I had this idea for this pink show. Charlie was like, okay. But no, he was from the beginning, he was so excited about politics. That's my show, by the way. You may have heard of it. Charlie Kirk was so enthusiastic about politics and totally understood my vision for conservatives really being on the front lines of the culture war and tackling culture from that perspective of let's cover entertainment news and talk about why some of these celebrities have lost their freaking minds. It's a really good way to introduce conservative ideas. Anyway, so I thought about Barbie, and I reached out to Lauren Tonsich. Now, Lauren Tonsich is a name that you need to know, because Lauren Tonsich is the events director at Turning Point USA, and it's because of her and her team that this looks the way it does. And Lauren loved right away, she loved this idea for capitalist Barbie, and that's because Lauren has taste, as all of us do. And I said, what do you think about this? I said, capitalist Barbie, think about it. She loved it, so we continued brainstorming, and I love this idea of using a doll that all of us grew up playing with that has had such an impact on pop culture, which is what I do, that's my bread and butter, and to use her to send this message of free market conservatives being the people who are the most pro-woman, not the left, right? The left says, be whoever you want to be, unless that is a pro-life or pro-family person. The left says, fight like a girl, fight like a girl. And then they pair up female wrestlers with biological men. No, you can boo with those. Yeah. The left says, live your truth. But what if that truth is being a loud and proud conservative woman? And so as I thought more and more about Barbie, I thought, wow, who Barbie is and all this opportunity that she has is only possible under the free market capitalism that we have in America. Now think about this for a second. It's only under capitalism and with conservative values that women can really flourish. So think about this with me. Think about all the jobs that Barbie has had, okay? One day she wakes up, she's a veterinarian. The next day, she decides she's going to be a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. That's right. Have lots of babies, lots of conservative babies. Your parents are like, wait a minute, what conference is this? What is this? We're having lots of conservative babies. So Barbie, she's been a stay-at-home mom. Maybe she wakes up, she wants to be a teacher. We love our conservative teachers. And, maybe she gets a wild hair. Barbie decides, I want to wake up and I want to be president. And so she does all of that, and then somehow she still makes time for Ken at the end of the day. I mean, what a woman. What a woman. She's got to be tired. She's got to be tired. Under free market capitalism, Barbie can live her best life. Under socialism, it's a little less pink and a lot more gray. Now, picture this, all right? We're going to go for a wild ride here. Let's picture Barbie under socialism. She can't afford gas for her pink Barbie Jeep because inflation is so freaking high. We're already experiencing that, right? So now Barbie's faced with, oh my gosh, I got to choose between my Malibu beach house and my pink custom car. And that's a horrible predicament to be in. Gosh, first world problems, but seriously. And of course, if we're living under socialism with Barbie, AOC is president. And because AOC is president, we have the Green New Deal. So So Barbie lives in this giant mansion, Malibu mansion, all these rooms. Think about how many rooms is in that house. I mean, remember, she's probably got that thing filled to the brim with restoration hardware furniture. All the space, and yet, because of the Green New Deal, she's not allowed to fart in her own house. Barbie can't fart. Imagine. This is why we're not a leftist, by the way. We want to fart in peace. So you think that's a bad day? Then she finds out that Skipper, remember Skipper, the brunette? Okay, so then Barbie finds out that Skipper wants to go away to school for a 4-year degree in butterfly whispering and basket weaving. And Barbie has to pay for it. Well, the government's paying for it. Really, Barbie's paying for it, right? Because free college, which is never really free. Really bad day for Barbie. And then she thinks, well, gosh, I have, all these problems. At least one day a year I can have a good day. I can celebrate on my birthday. I can get a beautiful, nice, iced to the brim, maybe an almond vanilla birthday cake. But then she finds out that the government has run out of birthday cake at the Socialist Bakery. Can't even have your own birthday cake. And by the way, that is actually what happens in Cuba. That is a reality. So I know we're having fun, but I just want you to really think about that is a reality. That some years they do not have a birthday cake, some people that grew up in Cuba. And that's just how it is. Gosh, it's so amazing to be an American, isn't it? Now, this is going to get a little dark. But I need you to bear with me. Barbie thinks last resort. My last resort is, I got this hot piece with Ken. The last thing, at least what I can do is we can go pick up, get a picnic together. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to bring Taffy, the golden retriever. No Taffy? I had a little Taffy. So Taffy and Barbie and Ken, they all decide they're going to the beach for this romantic picnic day. Such a cute date. They're like, okay, well, we got to get our picnic supplies, so we're going to go to the grocery store. Bad news, she gets to the grocery store, guess what's left? 1 can of some state-issued tomatoes. That's it. And it's not Goya. So this is the dark part. Barbie looks at Ken. Ken looks at Barbie. They look at Taffy. They look at each other. They look at Taffy. Hey, in Venezuela, they had to eat the zoo animals. I'm serious. But we are conservative, so we don't have to worry about eating dogs or zoo animals. Okay, we're going to bring this back around. Oh, my gosh. Some of you are like, you're telling your friend, let's get out of here. I don't know what we signed up for. Okay, so this is the happy ending. So picture this. Here's the happy ending. Barbie lives in a country, I should say, that never becomes socialist. Instead, she lives under free market capitalism. And it doesn't matter how Barbie grew up. Maybe she grew up in poverty. Maybe she grew up homeless. Maybe she grew up not knowing her dad. Maybe Barbie grew up in a home with abuse. But the great thing about free market capitalism is that she is guaranteed the opportunity to become whatever she wants to be, which is why America should never and will never become a socialist country. So here's the lesson learned from this. Be a capitalist and wear fabulous shoes. That's what Barbie does. All right, so here's what I want you to know going into this weekend. And I feel like a little bit of an OG because, like I said, my first conference ever, before I ever worked at Turning Point USA, was coming to YWLS in 2018. And so I know a little bit about what you're feeling right now. I know for me, and I'm going to get into this a little bit tomorrow night if you're coming to the gala, but I was so ready to leave my career in pop radio. I'd worked in pop radio for 7 years, and I came to this conference as a last resort. I thought, oh my gosh, I mean, I had friends that were conservative, and maybe some of you feel like this. I had friends that were conservative, but they weren't like into politics. You know what I mean? Like when the State of the Union was on, it was like my Super Bowl. I was like, I'm geeked up. I'm geeked up. So that's, to me, that all I want to talk about is politics, and my friends were just kind of passive, like, yeah, we vote, we're conservative, but like, we don't want to talk about this all day. And I just thought, oh, I need to go somewhere where I'm going to be around so many women, thousands of women who do feel that way and want to talk politics, dang it! So I came to YWLS in 2018, and it completely changed my life. And I am so excited for you because I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like. You're going to be around so many movers and shakers of the conservative movement this weekend, some of these amazing women that you're going to hear from. We may have varying, different views on social issues, but at the end of the day, everyone here that is speaking at this amazing conference believes in limited government, free markets, and law and order. And that is what is so cool about America. And that is what's so cool about conservatism, is that we have true diversity. You can look around this room and you can see every single color represented. I'm sure there's 100 different religions, who knows? There's definitely one gender, I will say that. One gender represented here. There's two, though, otherwise. So, people are like, wait. So that is what's so cool. And at the end of the day, even if you disagree on various social issues, at the end of this weekend, I want you to know that we're not going to expel you from the conservative movement. We are not your college campus. We are not your high school classroom, and we are not your woke corporate job. This weekend, you are really supposed to dig in and challenge the things you believe in. I hope you brought your notebook. I told you guys to pack a notebook. Yes! I love that you guys brought your notebooks. Oh, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, but I have a whole notebook filled with my notes from my first YWLS. And so every time that you guys take a step into this ballroom, I want you to look around and understand that some of these women, this might be their first time ever in a room of other conservative women. And maybe it is your first time ever in a room full of conservative women. And if it is, I am so happy you're here. We are all so happy, aren't we? And so I want to tell you a little bit about a friend of mine, a new friend that I've made that just moved to Phoenix, which is where I live, by the way, currently. I'm a Hoosier. I was born and raised in Indiana, but I live currently in Arizona, and I love it. There's palm trees there, you guys. You cannot blame me. So I made this new friend, and she was telling me this unbelievably emotional story about how she just moved from Hollywood. And she was living in LA, and she had this really cool job in Hollywood, and the thing was that she was conservative. And she lived in fear every single day that her employer was going to find out that she was conservative. So much fear and under so much stress that her hair started to fall out, and she started to lose an incredibly unhealthy amount of weight. She was also dating a leftist. Some of you might be dating a leftist. This was like a Bernie bro, socialist, full left. I know. Hey, hopefully you guys are going to come back next month at SAS, because there's going to be dude conservatives at that one. Hey, also, we just celebrated the marriage of Charlie and Erica Kirk. Do you know? Like, we were talking about this a few days ago. I went to this amazing, beautiful celebration of Charlie and Erica's wedding. It was unbelievable. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. It's like it blinds you. But they were talking about how Turning Point has literally created like thousands of marriages. If you count like our employees, so many employees that work at our headquarters in Phoenix have gotten married, and then people that meet at our conferences have gotten married. It's crazy. So you need to be at SAS next week or next month in Tampa. Okay, so make sure you sign up for SAS. Anyway, what I'm telling you about my friend. I'm telling you about my friend. So she's dating this socialist. She's dating this socialist, and she is so scared of him finding out that she's, well, he kind of has a hunch that she's conservative, but she starts to discover Charlie Kirk online and listening to the Charlie Kirk show, which you should be subscribed to, by the way. And then she discovers Poplitics. And she starts watching Poplitics in secret with headphones on so that he will not hear what she is listening to. I mean, it's wild. And so she's like, I gotta have an outside opinion on this, right? So she goes to a therapist, and she's telling the therapist about, what she's experiencing. And by the way, this is in LA. The therapist is in LA. You have to assume everyone there is a leftist. So she doesn't say anything about how I'm conservative and, my boyfriend's a leftist and my work, I have this woke corporate job and all this. She doesn't say anything. She just describes the feelings that she's feeling and how she, all the crazy stuff that she's experiencing. And do you know what the therapist says? Without her ever saying, like, I'm scared of leftists finding me out and all this. The therapist says, based on my experience, I believe that I would treat you the same as my patients who have just left a cult. You need to get out. You need to do what's best for your life, if that's breaking up with this boyfriend or moving out of LA. But clearly, this is not for you. And so I look at you as somebody who is needing to leave a cult. And I am very proud to say that that girl's in this room. And she works for Turning Point USA as of last week. So remember that story as you're looking at these other women. Say hi to them. Shake their hand. Really introduce yourself. Ask them where they're from. Ask them if they're in college or what they do for a living. There's every single walk of life. You have no idea who you're going to network with. Maybe you are a career conservative and you're wanting to leave your woke corporate job and you just need a connection. You need to meet somebody else that's in your industry. That woman could be here. That woman could be here. Maybe you're going through something. Your school's, trying to make vaccines mandatory, or your school's trying to shut down your Turning Point chapter. Whatever it is, there are other women here, guaranteed, multiple, tens of women here, hundreds of women here who are going through the exact same thing. And if you don't reach out this weekend, you might miss that opportunity to connect with her and make a lifelong friend. The girls that I met my first year at YWLS are still some of my closest friends today. We're in a group chat together. The text group chat, and you have to name it something weird, and it's so much fun. And if somebody in that group chat has an Android, then, you have to expel them from the group. You can find out real quick who in here you're going to not be friends with after the conference. You got an Android? Sorry. So make the most out of this. I am so excited for you. You are about to hear from one of my heroes, Dana Lash, tonight. She is one of the most powerful women in conservative radio, by the way. And she is just a firecracker. So I'm so excited if you've never gotten to hear her speak. You have Judge Janine here tonight. I just met Judge Janine backstage. I said, I don't know if I'm a bigger fan of you or your poodles. I'm sorry. Laura Trump is speaking. When are you going to be in a room with these amazing, inspirational women? It may never happen again. So guys, I am looking forward to meeting every single one of you, because as much as the speakers inspire me, and they did inspire me, and I left that job and I created Poplitics, it's meeting you guys at every conference that really fuels me every day. And it's meeting you guys and hearing your stories that blesses me as much as I hope my show blesses you, and that this organization blesses you. So I hope you guys will be there at my meet and greet Saturday. It's on your schedule. I hope I meet you at the gala. I want to get a lot of pictures. I want to hug you. And yes, we're not doing the 6 feet rule here. This is Texas. This is Texas, honey. No. Ooh, you might meet some hot Texan boys, too, while you're here this weekend. I don't know. Okay. All right. So, I think we should get this party started, cute conservatives. What do you say? I love you, and I am so proud of you.
Ladies, oh my gosh, conservative women are so good looking. We're so good looking. Oh, I'm gonna walk around a lot, and I always bring, so how many of y'all from Texas, first off? This is something that if you're not from Texas, you need to know. Every woman walks around with one of these. Now, I'm about to break a big bad rule here. I do not have sweet tea in this. Oh, she's already like, I've had 5 sweet teas today. I've had them. Woo. It's just water, so I'll have all my sugar and everything later on. It is so good to be here with you all. God bless you. If you're not from Dallas, welcome to Dallas, and the rest of you sisters, it's good to see you. It's so good to be here. And the gentlemen, I see a few gentlemen, you are very lucky to be in the presence of such ladies, so we welcome you as well. So before I get started, I had like this whole, I have notes and all this stuff, which I'm not even going to look at because I was entirely distracted by something that happened on CNN a little earlier today. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm Dana, and I do a nationally syndicated radio show. I do TV commentary, I write books, and I am a dork. And I love guns and bacon. I was talking to one of the ladies that I really, really admire backstage, Judge Janine, who is here. Very few dress as nicely as she does. Really like her. I dropped my bag and she's like, can I go through your bag? And I'm like, I got a couple extra mags in there. I think there's a K-bar, just, all kinds of fun stuff. So I had this whole thing. I used to work at CNN a while ago. Like some of you are probably still in school. But I worked at CNN at one point, and I was kind of like the token conservative. And they were nice in that they did not know how to treat me because I disagreed with them. And I feel like we are at this impasse where some of our brothers and sisters on the left do not know how to coexist with those of us who think as we do. So anyway, I'm in between doing radio. I just finished 3 hours of radio, and I was getting ready to turn over and do some TV and do some post-production stuff. And I see all of this stuff with Allison Camerota, who is on television interviewing Jeffrey Toobin. Now, for those of you who are unaware of who Jeffrey Toobin is, he's a really weird dude. He's a giant pervert. I'm going to be very delicate with how I say this. He was on Zoom and he was caught tubing it in front of some female colleagues and they kicked him off air. Conveniently, he forgot he was on Zoom and the camera was open. Now, I am watching him talk to Allison Camerota, and I'm going to I want y'all to see this clip. In fact, let's throw this up. They told me if I sent them stuff, they'd play it. You can feel the cringe.
You
Watch this.
were on a Zoom call with your colleagues from the New Yorker magazine. Everyone took a break for several minutes, during which time you were caught masturbating on camera. You were subsequently fired from that job after 27 years of working there. And you, since then, have been on leave from CNN. Do I have all that right?
You got it all right, sad to say.
Okay, so let's start there.
Okay.
To quote Jay Leno, What the hell were you thinking?
This is how they welcome this guy back.
I wasn't thinking very well or very much, and it was something that was inexplicable to me. I think one point, I wouldn't exactly say in my defense because nothing is really...
Yeah, we don't have to hear the rest of it. That's how they welcome this guy back. Gina Carano got fired from the Mandalorian because she was tweeting conservative stuff that wasn't offensive. You can be Jeffrey Toobin. You can be Jeffrey Toobin and do this in front of female colleagues, and CNN welcomes you back with open arms, and they'll turn you into a segment because this is CNN. That's what they do. That's the difference. This is kind of what we as conservatives have been up against in terms of not just double standards, but no standards. I used to say that the left had double standards. They have no standards. None. So this is a very difficult environment to navigate as young conservative ladies who are going in positions of leadership, because you have to navigate minefields like the Toobins of the world and the CNNs of the world. And it's in this cancel culture, awful environment that's trying to erase you. You are really, women today have it rough. They do. But you're here because you're the warriors. You are the shield maidens for the country. So I had to play that because if I saw it, you had to also. You know, sisterhood and all. So I wanted to give you, it says I have 19 minutes, and I think that's precious that there's a clock there. That's the last time I'm probably going to look at it. I wanted to give you some advice, some things that I have picked up because, you know, young conservative, you know, women's leadership, TPUSA does such a great job. Alex does such a great job. She has more energy than the Energizer Bunny. Love her. There are 3 women that I really, really admire. And the first one's going to sound weird. I have always admired Joan Rivers' work ethic. I watched this documentary about her. It was called Piece of Work. And they were asking Joan Rivers, why do you always work? You always have a project. You always have something you're doing. And she fought her way out of bankruptcy, and she turned herself into this little mini industry. And she said, I like to work because I want to live a certain way. I don't want to just live comfortably. I want to live a certain way, the way I want to live. And I like to stay busy, and I don't mind working for it. And I'm like, God bless America, that you can still do that. I love that. I love that work ethic. I love it. I also like to live a certain way. I would like to have a John Wick style gun wall in my closet. Maybe if you see my husband, very handsome man with a beard, you can help persuade him with me, because I would love to go in and if you're wearing, depending on if you're wearing stilettos, if you want to pocket carry, micro carry, however you want to do it, just kind of match the heel height with maybe the caliber. Would love to do something like that. So I also love to live a certain way, and I don't mind working for it. I loved that she was just so open about that, because have you noticed lately that ambition is looked upon so poorly, and merit is looked upon so poorly, as though these 2 things that helped build America and made this country what it is, that we're supposed to be somehow embarrassed or ashamed of that? No, no, no. You got to risk it for the biscuit. I love that she said that and that people do that. So that's one woman that I admire. The next woman that I admire is my mother, who is... She's like a female John Wayne, and one of my favorite stories I tell about her, single mother, for most of my life. In fact, I was probably an older teenager, and she got with my stepdad. And I wanted to play basketball so bad. I studied classical ballet. I did classical ballet for 16, 17 years. I did track, I did soccer, I did all kinds of stuff, but I wanted to be a basketball player so bad. I could not play basketball to save my life. But I was like, I'm so good in all these other sports, it's gonna translate. Oh, it didn't. Oh, no, no. I tried out every year and I never made it. I didn't even make JV. That's how bad I was. I didn't even make JV. So, I try out, did make it again. I was like a freshman in high school. My mom pulls up in her Honda Accord, cigarettes kind of hanging out of her mouth, stuck to her lip. She's just kind of looking over her sunglasses, her aviators. I get in the car. She goes, well, we drive off, and I'm like, well, I didn't make it. She's like, yeah, well, maybe you're not supposed to be the best at everything. I was like, well, okay then. All right, maybe I'm not. But it was such a wake-up call. My mom was not everybody gets a trophy. My mom was like, you're good at this, but you suck at that. I think that was one of the greatest gifts, and that's hard as a parent to do. As a mother, that is hard for me to do, but we run a pretty tight ship, and I tell my kids, I'm like, some things you're not going to be good at. And you just have to own up to that. You can't be the best at everything. You may be the best at one thing. And that's not what people today want to hear. Everybody wants a trophy just for showing up. And now you see what that kind of mentality has done to the world, right? We have everybody gets a trophy administration. We have everybody gets a trophy foreign policy. Everybody gets a trophy economic plans. It's insane. The other woman that I really admire, and I was raised Southern Baptist, and I'm non-denominational now, is Mary, the mother of Jesus, because I don't think... No mother has borne the pain of the cross like this one, and when life isn't in a bed of roses, I try to remember who wore the thorns. And so, I always, whenever I look up to, there are a lot of women I admire, but those three come to mind. It's with Joan Rivers in there, it's a weird assortment. Never thought you'd hear about Mary, Mother Jesus and Joan Rivers in the same thing, but you did, because it's me. All right, a couple of other things. The Joe Biden budget plan, what is it? I'm trying to remember which of the $2.whatever trillion plan this was, because it's $6 trillion total for the first 100 days. I don't know anybody who has ever asked that much money. I called it on my Substack, I called it the Big Pimpin' Tax Plan, because I really felt like that's how, we were really being treated in such manner. But the thing that really stuck out to me, and I know a lot of you out there have been talking about this, was the phrase birthing person. So, I'm going to be real frank with birthing person. I have borne 2 children. My oldest son was in the 99th percentile for head circumference. And I did my first birth completely all natural, and my grandmother... My first birth, don't get too excited. My grandmother looked at me when I told her this, and she goes, sweetheart, when I told you that we would just go in a cornfield and bat down on some leather, I was joking. So when I hear phrases like birthing person, doesn't that feel like a diminishment of you, regardless of whether or not you've had kids yet? Does that not feel like a diminishment of your uniqueness, of your power, of your authority as a woman? The patriarchy is real, it's progressive. The same people who have always been on the wrong side of history, whether it was for suffrage, whether it was putting indigenous Americans on the trail of genocide, because one thing that the left loves, they love trains and they love encampments. They put Japanese Americans in internment camps, and then they always want public rail, everything, every time. I don't know why, like they're obsessed with it. Mayor, and I love using, what is his name? Lawrence O'Donnell, MSNBC. He treats every script like it's a Shakespearean performance. I particularly like how he says the name of the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. It's my favorite. But the Secretary of Transportation constantly talks about trains. And I'm like, that's great. I love the fact that we're going back now to the 18th century. This is wonderful. But it does, it's a diminishment. And we as women have been through far too much for far too long to be diminished at the request of progressive males. And make no mistake, they didn't... 'Cause, 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 'c Make no mistake, did they turn men into fertilizer people? No? Just us? Okay, just us. But it's a patriarchal attack on the women of America and on common sense and on science. I love science. I don't know about you all. That's why I love science. I love talking about science, especially science things like hydroxychloroquine and all other kinds of stuff. We got some big fans of hydroxychloroquine in the house. But it is a complete diminishment. And yet we're supposed to be the ones who, I thought Republicans were the big sexist, whatever, stereotypical, et cetera, That's what I've always been told, but yet I've seen the left do more to deny not just opportunities to, but recognition of women, more so than anyone else. So, like I said, I was going to be giving you some advice at some point. I did look at that clock, so you guys can tell them back there. I did. One story that I came across a couple of years ago was this story of Michelle Williams, and it was some movie that she was doing in which she was doing something where they had to do all these reshoots. She did a movie with Mark Wahlberg. They had agents at the same agency, and Mark Wahlberg was able to negotiate fees whenever they had to do reshoots for scenes. Michelle Williams' agent did not negotiate fees for her when they had to reshoot scenes. And this was packaged all nice and tidy in all of things like Hollywood Reporter and everywhere else as Michelle Williams was the victim of unequal pay. And I had said, no, Michelle Williams was the victim of her own lack of courage in asking for her worth. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got, and I will tell you, is never, ladies, be afraid to ask for your worth. Whenever it comes time for my contract negotiations, everyone that I work with gets petrified. Because my agent is I love my agent. He's one of the biggest jerks in the world, and I love him for it. I love him. My attorney, one of the meanest people on God's green earth, and I love him for it. Never be afraid to ask your worth. In fact, ask for more, because the worst thing that anyone can ever tell you is no. Okay, so, no. All right, well then let's negotiate. That's all it takes. I never understood why it is that progressive women could not ask for their worth, and then when they lacked the wherewithal to do so, that was the man's fault. That doesn't sound like empowerment, does it? Of course, this is coming from the same ideology that thinks not getting things paid for them for free means they are being denied. That sounds like a child's logic. Oh, I didn't get a Barbie doll, so I was denied because someone didn't purchase it for me. No, just go and get it yourself, whether it has to do with birth control or anything else that you need. Purchase it for your own self, empowered women. My heavens. One of the things that's happened in the past couple of weeks is for my radio program, we've expanded to over 230 affiliates and 230 different markets across the country. And I've worked real hard at this over a decade, and I always felt that, honestly, I had a little bit more of a leg up because I was a woman. There are not a lot of women in talk radio. You can easily weaponize that. And I noticed that in some of these press articles that have come up, because I love meritocracy, they would say, oh, number one woman at this, number one woman at that. I'm like, I don't want to be number one until I'm number one. I'm not going to use my gender as some junior varsity asterisk. I want to be number one, period. And there's a really nice woman, she's a reporter, and she was writing a story, and she was like, oh, you're the number one woman in talk radio. And I'm like, no, I'm a top broadcaster, but I'm not just, when I'm number one, I want to be number one of men and women. I don't just want to be top woman. There's not a lot of women in broadcasting. It's easy to be number one. Number one woman in broadcasting, my gosh. They had the talkers list the other day, and I think I was the only one in the top 20. It's really easy. I want to be number one, number one. So the other thing is I know that all the left is in identity politics, and thank heavens that people on the right are not getting involved in this. because and conservative women have never used their gender as a crutch. And that is one of the things that I love most about conservative women, because they want to go out there and they want to own it on merit. They want to own it on strength. They want to own it on sheer power. But not only do conservative women not use gender as a crutch, but they protect what it is to be a woman. The other bit of good advice that I would share with you, boy, the press will love this one. Marry a good man and be a good wife. One of the smartest decisions I ever made was marry the man that I married. No other man on God's green earth could put up with me. Bless that heart. Bless that man. It takes a strong man to put up with my strong personality. And it's the smartest decision I've made. Somebody to support you, someone to cheerlead with you, someone who really understands what a partnership is. And that's what we have. We have a partnership. I get aggravated when I see leftist press and everybody else try to denigrate what it is to be a stay-at-home mom. I will let you know that for the first years of my children's life, I was proudly a stay-at-home mother. I stayed at home with my children until it made sense for me to go and do other things outside of just being a stay-at-home mother. The hardest, most underappreciated work that women do in society. Shape the next generation. And I homeschooled my kids until 8th grade. And so my oldest, he's a 20-year-old college student who is going into political science, and then after that he's going to go into law. And my youngest thinks that coding, which he's correct, should be taught as a second language in school. And he, under a different name, a different, handle online, he apparently is like, I just literally found this out the other day, he's like internet famous for creating mods for different games, and I had no idea about this. And I'm like, just don't talk to perverts on the internet, okay? I'm gonna look at your conversations, but it is. And it was rewarding, and I loved it. It was one of the happiest times of my life. I love what I do, but that right there is my biggest achievement. And if I never accomplish anything else in life, I can say that I've accomplished I've raised with my husband 2 amazing kids. We homeschooled them till 8th grade. One's a National Latin Scholar, honor roll, got scholarships to college. They are, well, basically 2 little Ron Swansons. People think I sit them in front of Fox News and feed them, Second Amendment pamphlets all day. They come by this information honest, I swear. They make good decisions. But one of the things that we required is that I made my kids take debate, because I think, and this is the other thing, marry a good man, be a good wife, and be able to articulate your ideas, particularly the ones that you hold dear and you want to be an advocate for. Be the best at articulating support for them. Because sometimes you might be the only evangelist for that issue someone on the left comes across. And you owe it to that issue to be the best you can be and speaking about that issue. I made my kids take debate. I said, you don't have to compete, but you will take debate. And we always have big, rowdy dinners. We have family dinner. It's mandatory in our house. You come and you sit for family dinner. If I see your phone, I'm going to throw it in the pool. And we always would say, if you're going to get involved in the table conversation, it must be of general interest, and you must be able to articulate your idea well and be able to argue in support of it effectively if it's a contentious issue. And if they don't abide by that, then they don't get to speak at the dinner table. We made them take debate, though. And then my oldest actually did enter and competed in some debate tournaments. But being able to articulate an issue, I've seen a lot of issues really hurt by people who weren't able to do it a service. But I love the dedication that I'm seeing from so many people, especially young women, especially on issues of life and family. Here's another thing that's super incredibly important. And this, this is something that I wish I would have done more of when I was younger. But you need to find a mentor and be a mentor to other young women. Definitely. I've been at some places where, and I know it gets real competitive sometimes with women. I mean, you know, especially alpha women, which is what conservative women tend to be. We come by it honest, ladies. And there are some times in my professional career where I wished I wouldn't have kept my head down to just do my work. I wish I would have stepped in and said, you're being mean to this one, stop it, and as the senior woman. So older ladies, be a mentor. Younger women, find one, because if you are a conservative woman and you are going into leadership, it may not be today and it may not be in the next 5 years, but I promise you, at some point, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to need someone, another lady, to have your six. And you need to have that relationship, and it is so important to have that sisterhood, so important. So find a mentor, be a mentor, depending on where you're at. I'll say this too. I know I got to start wrapping it up, but I really like spending time with you all. I mean, this is fun. Might make them come out here and get me. I live in a house with all men. I love men. My dogs are men. I mean, I really like this estrogen. I'll tell you this. This third wave feminism, the idea of third wave feminism, all this nonsense, I know a lot of people have been talking about that issue, and I think third wave feminism finally is going kaput because it's not about making women equal, it's about tearing men down to make the playing field unequal. It's not, in order to be a strong woman, you don't have to tear down men. You don't. And this idea, the treatment of conservative women and the treatment that they have received, whether it's Ivanka Trump, whether it's Lara Trump, whether it's anybody whose last name is Trump, conservative women get so routinely abused. And how many of you out there, before I wrap this up and get going, how many of you out there in your position in conservative leadership, how many of you have been abused online or by other people because, oh my gosh. Now this feels like that Mean Girls scene when they ask everybody to open their eyes. See, that's the other importance of having that sisterhood and having that mentorship. The reason I think that they come at everybody and try to be so petty in the attacks and try to demean who you are and what you do is because they recognize the threat that you are. They recognize the threat that you are to their ideology. For instance, the Marxist economic tax proposals, et cetera, I said this on air, Marxism is fueled by selfishness. Selfishness requires envy. And one of the things that I think particularly that conservative women stand against as an example is that they go out and they make it for themselves. They protect their family. They raise their children. They make sure their children are educated. They are that Proverbs 31 woman who can be praised at the gate. She wakes up with the sun. She helps her husband with business affairs. And by the way, anyone who ever said the Bible was sexist, they never read the Bible. She helps her husband manage business affairs. She has a lot of responsibility, and she is the matriarch of a society. She is the hand that rocks the cradle, the hand that rules the world. That's why you're a threat. So, I will leave you with this in our short time today. Be encouraged. Be inspired. You have been called to such a time as this. You are the shield maidens for America, for freedom, for liberty, and not just other women are watching you. My sons are watching you. Other women's sons are watching you. So you are an example, not just for young women, but also for young men. So go forward in confidence, be fearless, be courageous. You come from people who were bold, so honor them with equal boldness. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful conference. Thank you so much.
Hey, where are my girls at in the room? I love it. Let me tell you something. This room is the scariest room in the United States of America to every Democrat, to every mainstream media outlet, because you ladies are independent thinkers. You don't need to be taught what to think because you know how to think, ladies, right? And you make decisions for yourselves. By the way, how amazing is it that I am sandwiched in between Dana Lash and Judge Jeanine Pirro? I mean, what an honor. Guys, I got to tell you something. I am so stoked to be here. I think the last time I talked at this event, I was pregnant with my son Luke, and he's going to be 4 in September, okay? So it's been a minute. Charlie, what happened? Where have I been? Why haven't I been back? Was anybody here the last time I spoke at this event? Okay. All right, so for those of y'all that weren't here, I'm going to catch you up real quick. But first, I got to say something. You ladies know this. Every single person in this room is courageous. Every single person in this room is inspiring. You are bold. You guys are inspiring people every single day, and you probably don't even know it. Because it takes a lot of guts to be a conservative these days, right? There's a lot of pressure out there that tells you to be something else. You get it from the mainstream media. You get it from Hollywood. You get it from your peers. Heck, you even get it now from schools, right? But you guys know who you are, and you are standing strong in your values. And I want to congratulate every single one of you for that, because it ain't easy sometimes, ladies. But we're here, and not only that, you guys are seeking more of it out. You want to learn more. You want to absorb more. Keep doing what you do. I'm telling you, you might not know it. You are changing people's minds every day. So, since the last time I was here, I have a son named Luke. I have a daughter named Carolina. We have now had 2 presidential elections. Who here thinks we have now won 2 presidential elections as well? Was anybody in here able to vote this past election cycle? Amazing. And let me guess, I probably know who you voted for. President Donald J. Trump, yes? I thought that might be the case. Now, I don't know about you, but I think the only thing better than winning 2 presidential elections is maybe winning 3 presidential elections, ladies. Right? We'll see what happens. I'm not breaking any news here tonight. I'll let somebody else do that. But it would be pretty sweet, would it not? Yes. But they tell us 81 million votes for Joe Biden. Ladies, the most popular president in the history of America. And what we say where I come from in North Carolina is bless his heart. Because sometimes it's just not working out for Joe. But that's all right, because I think 2022 and 2024, what do y'all think? He's going to get a rude awakening. Will he not? So for anybody that wasn't around during the last event that I spoke at for the Young Women's Leadership Summit, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me because, ladies, I probably grew up just like most of you out there, okay? I come from a small town in North Carolina, Wrightsville Beach. Anybody from North Carolina here? Okay. All of y'all, the rest of y'all are cool too. Don't worry about it. Just asking. I got to know where my North Carolina people are. But I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. My parents were small business owners. I went to public school my whole life. I worked at my dad's car wash. Unbeknownst to AOC, other people are also bartenders. I happened to be a bartender at one time. Yes, other people can do it too. I was a waitress. And I went to North Carolina State University. Anybody Wolfpack for life, just saying. And then I decided, I'm going to move to New York City. My parents thought I was totally insane. My mom basically thought I would end up like dead in a drainage ditch somewhere. But I got in my car. I cried the entire drive to New York City because I didn't know anybody. I just decided this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move to New York and go to culinary school. Side note, I'm also a pastry chef. I know. Do not remind my husband of this, though, because he loves to give me a hard time because he's like, when we first met, you used to make me like ice cream cakes all the time, and now I don't get anything. So don't remind him, but I am a pastry chef. So I drove to New York, didn't know anybody in New York at all. I met a guy named Eric Trump. Anybody heard of him? I want you guys to know something, though. I didn't know who my husband was. I didn't know who Eric Trump was when I met him. Okay, I was introduced to some tall guy named Eric, and I was like, well, I'm looking up and I'm wearing heels, and as y'all can see, I'm a tall drink of water up here, okay? So I was like, this could work out. I'm going to see what this guy's all about. Come to find out, his dad was a guy named Donald Trump, okay? So I want you to imagine the nerves that you often have if you're meeting, like, your significant other's parent. Imagine if it was Donald Trump, okay? And my husband gave me no indication the day that I met his dad that I was going to meet his dad. I was like, oh my God, I would have gotten dressed differently. I would have like really done something with my hair. But I got to tell you guys, the first time that I met my father-in-law, I was so incredibly impressed. He was down to earth. He had a full conversation with me about ice cream. I thought, this is really cool. Donald Trump eats ice cream. I eat ice cream. We could do this. This could happen. And as y'all know, he gets 2 scoops, right, of ice cream. How ridiculous. Can we just take a moment? Okay. How crazy did the media go about Donald Trump getting the 2 scoops of ice cream when he was in the White House? And yet the only question that they asked Joe Biden about is, what flavor ice cream did you get, Joe? Chocolate chip. Those are the tough questions the media gives Joe Biden right now. Yet they found out Donald Trump got 2 scoops. Is this bad for his health? Breaking news on CNN. Is this bad for the president's health? Let's have a news conference about it. So crazy. Anyway, back to my story. Sorry, I get very sidetracked with the craziness out there, because y'all, it is crazy sometimes, right? So I met my father-in-law. Eric and I got married in 2014, which, by the way, was 6 years after we met. He wanted to make very sure, apparently, about me. I don't know. I think it worked out okay for him, right? And then my father-in-law decided to do a little thing like run for president of the United States. And in 2016, I had no political experience whatsoever. None of us had really any political experience at all. And I told my father-in-law that I was like, you know, I'm from North Carolina, so if you want a little help down there, good. You're going to help me win North Carolina, right? Not even kidding. That is exactly what happened in 2016. And I was like, yeah, totally. I could totally do that for you. So I went to my home state and I worked my ass off in North Carolina. And I said, heck, while I'm at it, they keep talking about Donald Trump doesn't do well with women. What do you guys think about that, first of all? Crazy. I said, every woman I know thinks that we should have a businessman in the White House, somebody with common sense, somebody that tells it like it is, okay? So I said, let me get a group of women together. We got a bus. They let us travel to all the swing states. We started a little something called Women for Trump in 2016. And then I guess I did an okay job for him in 2016 because 2020 came around and he wanted me to be senior advisor to his campaign. Okay? Let me back up for a minute. That girl that drove crying in her car from Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina to New York City, if you would have told me back then that I was ever going to be a senior advisor for a presidential campaign, I would have said, you are crazy. You are smoking some Hunter Biden stuff. You know what I mean? What? But I got to tell you guys, I have always done something that has served me well. First of all, I have always prayed. Every single night. And we're probably going to get interrupted any second because my son goes to bed and prays every night. My mom's going to FaceTime me in a minute. I'm just warning y'all. It could happen live here on stage. It's happened before. But I've prayed every night. I've always followed my gut. I've always followed my heart. I've always tried to do the right thing because those are the values that my parents instilled in me. They taught me to love this country. They taught me to stand with my hand over my heart for that flag in the back of the room, the American flag. That when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, when you sing the national anthem, you stand with your hand over your heart, you respect the flag, you respect the military, you respect law enforcement, right? They taught me all those things and to always be a good person so that when I laid my head down at night, I knew that I had done the right thing in a day, right? And so that is exactly what guided me, I think, to where I am today. I have always subscribed to that thought process. I've always tried to do the right thing. I knew in 2016, I knew in 2020 that Donald Trump was the right way forward for America. I knew that he was doing the right things and saying the right things. And sometimes it's the tough love that we need, right? Sometimes you don't like to hear it, but you need to hear those things, and Donald Trump delivered that. So I often feel like that's how I ended up where I am today. And some of you might have heard I had considered running for a Senate seat in my home state of North Carolina. So last weekend, I happened to travel there with my father-in-law. Did y'all see his speech last weekend? I think $10 trillion that China has to pay the rest of the world sounds pretty good to me. What do y'all think? They owe it. They owe it. That's what I took away from that speech. It was great. But I made an announcement last Saturday that now was not the time for me to run for this Senate seat because my kids are really young. And I just heard Dana out here talking to you guys about this. I mean, women run the world, but moms raise the women that run the world. And so if I'm the only person I got to consider in a situation, then I would have run for that seat from day one. But I have 2 young kids. And sure, I could farm it out. I could have somebody else raise them, but absolutely not will I do that, okay? I can't do it. Because I have to know that my kids are raised with the same values that I grew up with. I want them to love that flag. I want them to love this country. I want them to understand the sacrifices that our veterans have made. And I want this country to continue to be the greatest country in the world. And that starts not just with everybody in this room, but it starts right inside my home with my own 2 children. So, thank you. It was a tough decision to make. I got to tell y'all, that was a really tough decision to make, and it was very hard for me to get up and actually say it and say I'm not going to do this. But God has another plan for me right now. And things happen in God's time. They don't happen in our time. So, right, when it's the right time, He will let me know. And I hope that then there will be some incredible opportunity for me. Because I got to tell you something to everybody in this room. I hope you guys know this. Our family did not get into this fight for 4 years. We're in this for life with you guys. Forever. So I can promise you, I am going nowhere. My husband is going nowhere. Don Jr. is going nowhere. Donald J. Trump is going nowhere. They won't like to hear that on the left, and man, are they trying to do everything they can to take Donald Trump out. They know that the next time he's in the White House, it is game over for them. Done. No more messing around. He's cleaning house. It's over. So stay tuned. Again, I have no news to break tonight. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I didn't announce anything. but they know they're trying desperately to disqualify him. But I want to tell you guys, really, I think my message always when I talk to people and people are like, how did you end up where you are? Quite frankly, I don't know. I got no business being up here. I grew up like all of you guys, but I just followed my heart. I followed my gut. I followed my passion. My parents raised me to believe that America is the most exceptional nation in the world because you can achieve anything you want in this country if you put your mind to it and you work hard. And here I am. And you guys know we have to keep it that way, right? I mean, it's some scary stuff going on out there right now. But that's why every single person in this room is so important, because you guys are the leaders of tomorrow. I guarantee you there is a mayor or two in this room, there is a governor or two in this room, a member of Congress, a member of Senate, heck, maybe even a president of the United States sitting in this room right now today. And I know it's hard, because, man, they come after, y'all know they come after us all the time. But I want you guys to wear that as a badge of honor, because they don't try and stop you when you're a loser, but they do try and stop you when you're a winner, right? So remember that. They come after you because you're a threat. They come after you because you scare them. So let's keep scaring them to death, guys, okay? We're going to do that. But I promise you guys, this fight is far from over. There is so much more to come. Again, 2022, 2024, going to be some big years for conservatives. Who is going to be able to vote in 22 in this room? And how about 2024? All right. So I want y'all to get ready. It's going to be a big day. I don't know. What do you think? Should we just have one day, it's called voting day, where everybody shows up to vote with an ID that says who they are? Is it that crazy? We'll see where we go with this, but the fight is far from over. We're in it to the bitter end with every single conservative, with every person that loves this country, every patriot, that I can promise you. So we're going nowhere in the Trump family. Now, there are a lot of you out there, but I was told that if anybody has any questions, perhaps should I do some Q&A? You guys want to ask some questions? Okay. Who do we have? How does this work? Uh-oh. I see people running. Oh, form a line, please.
Okay, we're going to start on this side and then go to that side and bob back and
Okay. Oh, so great.
forth. Okay.
So many questions.
Hi.
Hi.
It's an honor to meet you. First
Thank
of all,
you.
thank you for your family sacrifice for our country.
Thank you.
It means a lot. So I think it was Steve Bannon, he kind of floated a date on his radio show, and then Sidney Powell used the word reinstate. Do you have anything about that? Because that would be cool.
Wouldn't it be cool? But look, now I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but what I have understood from those who are is that although we might not agree with it, when the Electoral College voted on January 6th, that made Joe Biden officially the President of the United States. And then when he was sworn into office on January 20th, that also sealed the deal. Now, I'm not saying he won anything on November 3rd or November 7th or 10th or whenever they dragged it out to find enough votes. But I am saying I don't think, as far as I know, that there is anything coming until 24. But y'all hang on, because it's not that far away, okay? Oh, other side?
Oh, okay. Hi there.
Hi.
Such an honor to meet you. Wow.
Thank you.
So I have a question as women to women with social media. So like, it's very hard to, go on social media and want to do things for a good cause, like advertise TPUSA and PragerU, but it's still at the same time be caught up in all the comparison, all the jealousy as women, and that's just something that we deal with as women. So what are some tips that you could just help us deal with that and still fight the good fight?
Well, you just got to own it, right? You just got to own it, and you don't care what anybody thinks. Look, believe it or not, guys, I have friends of mine who I know did not vote for my father-in-law. They haven't told me, but I know. I've seen some of the stuff they post. I'm like, okay, I know what y'all are doing. I don't care how many of them see it. I am posting what I believe in, what I know is true, what I know is real. I will always do that. And if you can, like I said, if you can go to bed at night knowing what you did is the right thing, I mean, you just got to own it. And sometimes if those people can't handle it, then maybe they're not supposed to be in your life, unfortunately for them. Thank you. We're going back over here? Okay, we're flip-flopping. Here we go.
Hi, thank you so much for everything your family has done for our country.
Thank you.
So much gratitude. So there's a lot of strong, bold, conservative women in this room, and I think that is so amazing. And just thank you again for everything you've done. But how would you recommend us get more involved and just go out into the world and use our courage and use our voices to really make an impact?
Well, I think you guys do it every day. I mean, like I said, you probably don't realize it, but there are so many people. Think about how many people, first of all, 75 million of us that we know of voted for Donald Trump, okay? So that's a lot of people. Now, I knew the same thing was happening in 2016. Nobody was talking about it, but I knew when they went in a voting booth, they'd be like, yeah, I know what's up. Donald Trump, filling that one in for sure. There are so many people that feel the same way you do, that think that what we see out there right now is ridiculous, that think the idea that we should judge people based on the color of their skin and not the content of their character is ridiculous. But they're scared to talk about those things. So I think every day, just by speaking up, just by posting on social media, even if it's scary, you inspire a lot of people. Now, if you want to get involved, on a political level, you can always go to your local GOP office. They're going to be looking for volunteers coming up really soon for the midterms, which are super important. We got to take back the House. We got to take back the Senate, guys. Come on. So definitely check that out. That is a great way to get involved. You meet a lot of people, and then from there, you never know. Maybe I'll have a campaign someday y'all could work on. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe. But that would be my advice. Keep doing what you do, but if you want to get involved politically, go to your local GOP office. They would love to see you. Thank you. All right, we're coming back over.
Hi.
Hi.
Like everyone else and in this room, and I'm sure more people, I just want to thank you and your family for everything you've done. But as for my question, I know it's kind of been a topic of tonight lately. For being a stay-at-home mom, I was wondering if you have any tips on that, because that's something that I really want to do, but I know that the world right now is like really pushing just for women to like enter the workforce and stuff. So I was wondering if you had any tips.
First of all, if you would have talked to the 24-year-old me that drove to New York City and told me that I would want to stay at home with my kids, that I wouldn't want to get out there at a job every day, 9 to 5, I would have been like, yeah, right. Meanwhile, then I had my kids, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most incredible thing in the entire world. You got to stay true to yourself. And you know what? There are a lot of people out there that are going to tell you how to be and tell you who to be. Only you can make that decision. It's between you and the Almighty. And when you guys talk and you make that decision, again, you got to own it. And I can guarantee you, I know that my mom left work to stay home with me and my brother. I am incredibly grateful for it. It truly made me, I think, the person that I am today. I don't know ultimately who I would be today without my mom and my dad, of course. But mom's got a little something special, don't we? Ladies, right? The moms have a little something. Because ask my husband to call the pediatrician right now. Ask my husband to call the vet right now. I'm going to get in trouble with this speech. I already did the pastries. Now he's going to. But really, I think, look, if it's what you want to do, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, to not care what other people think. But believe me, if anybody knows about that it's our family, okay? So you own it and you do it, and your kids are going to be so grateful for it one day. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Natalia. I'm 17 years old, and I'm very, very interested in politics, and I'm a very proud conservative woman. I
love it.
So, I already know I want to go to college. I want to study econ. I want to go to law school. I want to get involved in politics. What kind of advice do you have for people like me who are in high school and have these big aspirations for ourselves.
Well, I think you can go be a part of, depending on what college you go to, be a part of the Republicans, you know, on your college campus, Republicans Club on your campus. Turning Point USA is a great outlet to go to as well, obviously. But, you know, there's always a local race, I feel. And look, if you ultimately go to law school, we need more people on the conservative side who are lawyers, because we got some fights ahead of us. So absolutely do that. But you can always go, like I was saying earlier, be a volunteer with a campaign, be a volunteer with a GOP office. I think it's super important to do, because we want to hear from young voices. We want to get the vibe of what's going on. Some of us, like myself, are a little bit older. So my husband thinks I'm going to make a TikTok video or something. I don't think so. So we need to hear from a younger crowd, and that's a great way to start getting involved as well. All right.
This is going to be the last question.
So my name is Jessica, and I actually am from North Carolina as well.
Okay, where are you
from? Raleigh. And we've been
else.
hearing about the whole Donald Trump wearing his pants backwards at the
God.
speech, and I just wanted to ask about that. And how can we hold the media accountable, like, for going on? Because the media is, like, horrible.
I mean, this is the low that they've sunk to. They really think, could you imagine, first of all, how hard it would be to put your pants on backwards in a suit, to zip up the back and like button it? What are they talking about? But this is how far gone they are. This is how crazed the left and the mainstream media have become over Donald Trump. They're like, let's find one thing from the speech. Pants are on backwards, obviously. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can vouch for the fact his pants were on the right way. My goodness. Like, what are we talking about? It's very hard right now to hold the mainstream media accountable, but they're being exposed every day for their lies, aren't they? The Wuhan lab origin of COVID-19, how about that? How about hydroxychloroquine, right? We're now finding out all of the nonsense that they tried to tell us a year ago, they're being exposed. And so I think it's up to us. Look, the social media outlets have done a masterful job with trying to silence conservative voices, but we're fighting back, guys. We have our own outlets now. We don't need them anymore. We won't need any of them for a long time to come. So the more people continue to post the truth, and it's going to come out. I really believe it. It's a sad state of affairs that journalism is dead in America, it seems. But we got to keep calling them out for it. We got to hold them accountable. And there's a reason that CNN's ratings are absolutely in the gutter, okay? That's it. All right. Well, I guess, does that mean my time's up? Well, I just want to say thank you, guys. Thank you for fighting for this country. Thank you for loving America. I want you guys to stay involved, stay tuned, because there is far more to come from all of us. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What a great spot to be in tonight. Dana Lash, Laura Trump, and me. All three of us, friends, strong women who promote women, who believe in women, and who have captured our dreams just like every one of you in this room is going to do in your life. And I want to welcome you to the America of 2021, where up is down and down is up and sideways is inside out. The America of 2021, where the left is convinced that we are either victims or racists, where the left is trying to convince us that law and order doesn't matter, where the left is convinced that Marxism and socialism is where we need to go. And I am here to tell you tonight that no one knows better that that is wrong than every woman in this room. Oh, I like that. There are bubbles here. I saw one bubble. In America today, news is fake news. Journalistic integrity is gone. Nobody cares whether a story is right or wrong. There are no consequences. There are no ramifications. If the story's wrong and you ruin somebody's life, so be it. We'll do another story. And we found that out, didn't we? With Dr. Fauci, who was so sure. I call him the Prince of Darkness. He was so sure that this virus that locked us down and kept us away from our jobs, our families, weddings, as well as school and work, he was convinced that that was a result of a virus going from an animal to humans. And now we know it's something very different. And the message and the lesson that you learn from that is that you don't believe everything people tell you. And that requires what you've heard about all night, that you be an independent thinker, that you have a moral core, that you have a belief in the Almighty, that you also do your research and make sure you know what the facts are before you form an opinion. Your moral core is based on who you are and the decisions you make. That moral core will determine your reputation, how far you go in your job, and how far you go in life. You know, as women, we are taught that we can do everything that men can do, and we can even do more. But I want to tell you my story. It's a little different. I'm older than you. I'm a lot older than you. When I was a little girl growing up in Elmira, New York. Now, I'm not even going to ask if someone is here from Elmira, New York. Oh, my God, there's one person. Oh, hello, Elmira. I grew up and I told people that I wanted to be a lawyer. And they said to me, Janine, why would you want to be a lawyer? You're a girl. Don't you want to be a mommy? And I grew up thinking that they were mutually exclusive, that you had to be one or the other. And when I went to law school, I did high school in 3 years. I was in a rush. I was told that I was taking the seat of a male and that, you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to court and take your baby with you to court? Now, I'm still thinking you've got to be one or the other, so there ain't no baby coming with me to court. But I'll fast forward for a minute. I have 2 children. My daughter is a lawyer, and my son is in finance, and my daughter is about to give birth any minute, and I will be a grandmother. A grandmother. And when I got out of law school, I applied for a job as an assistant district attorney. Why? Because I used to watch an old show that none of you have heard of. It was called Perry Mason. And in Perry Mason, I could never understand, for those of you, you can look it up or Google it later, the DA in Perry Mason was a guy by the name of Hamilton Berger. Perry Mason was a defense attorney, and every time he cross-examined someone, the real guilty party in the back of the courtroom would say, I did it, I did it. And I could never understand how the DA, who was always indicting the wrong guy, kept getting reelected DA for like 10 years in the television season. But I went to law school, and I went to learn about truth and justice. And I learned very early on that there was not a lot of equal rights and equal justice for women. You see, women, and not that long ago, were not considered credible to testify in certain cases. Women, if they were battered, if they were shot, stabbed, beaten, or battered, they couldn't have their husband arrested. He wouldn't go to jail. There was no law that allowed it. The thinking was that if a woman were beaten, she probably deserved it, and they would only get back together, and she just did it to make a point. I was this young kid from Elmira, New York. I worked in a dairy, all right? That was my experience, working in a dairy. I liked working in the dairy. Actually, I stopped eating ice cream for about 20 years, but I'm back on it. No, have no worry. And I realized that women were not being treated equally. And in 1978, I told you I was no spring chicken. In 1978, I started the first domestic violence unit in the nation. I knew nothing about domestic violence. My father loved my mother loved my father. But I had a moral core and a foundation and a family and a belief in truth and justice and right and wrong, and no one was going to cross that line. And when I was able to get a grant from the Department of Justice to set up the first domestic violence program in the nation, I would take cases to court. And judges would look at me, because I was like the only woman in the DA's office, and they would say, what are you doing here? This is a social problem. It's not a criminal problem. And I would say, no, Judge, you're wrong. And for years, I was criticized. I was taking men out of the home. I was, if a man paid the mortgage, who was I to come in and say, just because he stabbed her, that he doesn't have a right to go home? And then I started trying cases. And I went to the boss, and I said to the boss, can I try cases? He said, no, women can't try murder cases. They can't go for the jugular. So I said to myself, because I was by myself most of the time, and in the appeals bureau where I worked, because I was law review, in the appeals bureau I would sit with the guys. Like they didn't, they talked to me once in a while, and I had to, it's hard breaking ceilings or hurdles or jumping them. And I would hear them talk, and they would say, I have to do local court. I have to do local court on Thursday night. I want to go out. I want to go to this bar. I want to go here or there. So little Janine's sitting there, and so I said to one of the guys, and I still talk to these guys, funny. I said, Bob, his name was Bob. I said, Bob, I'll go to local court for you. He says, what are you talking about? You can't go to local court. He said, plus I have a trial. He said, you can't try a case. You're in appeals. So I said, I'll do it. And back then, it was like the early 80s. They didn't have computers. So I took the file, and I go to court, I don't know anything about trying a case. I say, hell, if these guys can do it, these bozos who drink for a living at night, I sure as hell can try a case. I tried the case. And I won the case. And the judge called me up at the end. He said, I haven't heard of you. I said, well, yeah, I'm new in the office. New. I was there 2.5 years, but they never let me out of appeals. He said, Miss Pirro, he said, I have a suggestion. He said, if you object and I rule against you and I overrule you, he said, don't do this. Because every time he ruled against me, I go. So I did it for about a year. All the guys said, hey, I got a date, I got this, I got that, for about a year. I'd go all over the county and try their cases. The point of me telling you this is that you have to be creative. They're not going to let you do something. You've got to figure out a way to do it, and you've got to be good at it. So I get called up to the chief assistant's office. This guy's the scariest looking guy you ever saw. He says to me, what's this I hear you're trying cases at night? And I said, Mr. Fussell, I just go out and I'm trying to help the guys. You've been trying cases for 1.5 years or whatever. He says, how do you know how to try a case? You're in appeals. What do you know? And I said, you got to think, ladies. I said, Mr. Fussell, I read all of your transcripts in appeals. I learned everything I knew from your transcripts. You are brilliant. So Mr. Fussell moves me out of appeals and lets me try cases. So then I get to the point where I want to try murder cases. Right? I start the domestic violence shooting. I have shooting, stabbings, but I don't have the killings. The men in the office don't want to deal with me, right? What can a woman? A woman can't try a case. I get the case because I fought and I got the case. And I knew that if I didn't win that case, that every woman behind me would suffer. And all it meant was that I had to be on top of the facts, and I had to be on top of the law. It was a murder case. Husband murdered his wife, and the 2 sons testified on behalf of the husband what a horrible person the wife was. You've got to have passion. Whatever your dream is, you got to buy it, hook, line, and sinker. You have to believe in it. You have to sleep it. You have to wake up to it, and if you have that passion, you can do it. You will have to believe in yourself, and I did, and I won that murder case and every murder case after that for 15 years. So then I say I want to run for judge. There's never been a woman county judge in this county of 1 million people. So my opponent says, this woman's not tough enough to give someone a life sentence. So that didn't work. So then he says, how is she going to go to court if she's got 2 little kids? That started a whole to-do. So I had to bend to the society that I was living in. And I had to have my then husband come out and say that if I couldn't get home in time, he would take care of the kids. I mean, do you believe this? Then I ran for district attorney. After I won, I was the first county judge. I was the first woman to try a homicide case in the history of Westchester. And then I was elected the first woman district attorney in the history of Westchester County. And what I learned as district attorney is very relevant to you right now. And that is that there is a battlefield in our country where we see as prosecutors the ugliest side of life, the pain that people go through for no reason. They haven't done anything. They didn't ask for it. They don't deserve it. And all of a sudden, like a thunderbolt, a criminal makes a decision to ruin their lives. And it's not just their lives. It's the people who love them. It's their friends. It's the ripple effect in the community. And then you learn that your job is to change the social thinking. Child abuse was not considered a crime when I started out. It was a social problem, not a criminal problem. Well, excuse me. If you immerse a child in scalding water, that's a criminal problem. If you beat a child to death, that's a criminal problem. That's not a social problem. And if you rape a child, I don't care if you were raped as a child. I don't give a damn what happened to you. I only care about what you did to this child today. And that's what you have to care about. But right now, all of the fights that we did, they're coming back. I'm not going over this for, for self-aggrandizement. It's happening again. What's happening now is there is a movement afoot to defund the police. When Donald Trump ran for president, it was music to my ears. He said, I want to bring back law and order. What is wrong with that? And the left was incensed. The left was infuriated. The left hates America. They hate order and law. They want anarchy and chaos. And we saw it last year when Black Lives Matter, not the movement, but the organization, was burning down cities and police precincts and everything that you and I and our founding fathers find important and dear to us as a nation. We cannot have that happen anymore. We cannot have people who don't believe in the structure of our government, or we will not be a government. And the problem of crime is fundamental, not just because I spent 3 decades in the criminal justice system, but because the criminal justice system determines whether or not your business will thrive, whether or not your children can go to school safely, whether or not your house can be resold at a decent price. If there is no safety, there is no prosperity. And the movement by the lunatics on the left to get rid of cash bail is an invitation to the worst offenders in our society to come back and do it again. The criminals are emboldened. They are haughty right now, and they will commit their crime and reoffend again and again. Just like on my show this Saturday night, I will talk about a judge from the Bronx who lets a 16-year-old go. He says there's no bail. After he stabbed a young woman in the stomach, then he let him go again, and he killed someone else a couple days ago. We cannot have judges like this. We cannot have a system that doesn't respect the safety of you as Americans, all of us as Americans. And I don't give a damn what AOC says. I don't give a damn what any of these people say. They are not like us. We want safety. We want security. My daughter's having a baby. I want that child to grow up in an America where he respects the flag, where he's proud to be an American, where he is proud to say, I am a part of a great nation, not I'm part of a racist nation. I want them to be as proud as my dad who fought in World War II and my grandfather who fought in World War II. And they never talked about it. They never talked about it, but the nightmares were there. My mother talked about it. My grandmother talked about the nightmares. My father was on the first ship to Nagasaki. He saw the plume from the bomb. He died at 50 from head and neck cancer. He didn't die immediately after the war, but he died from it. And my grandfather stormed a beach at Normandy. These are the heroes that we have to respect. But the left doesn't believe in the military, and they don't believe in law and order. And I'm telling you, I worked with cops for 32 years, state, local, federal. They are the best people. Are there some bad ones? You're damn right, and I put them in jail, okay? But they're good people. And every day, these fools in Washington tell us the border's closed, as if we're idiots. They're stupid. We're not stupid. And every day they come through. Aren't we a sovereign nation? Don't we have a right to have a border? I want to know who's coming through. Who of you has a criminal record? Who of you is a pedophile? Who of you is a sex offender? An identity thief? Who of you thinks it's okay to beat your wife? Who of you thinks it's okay to drive drunk? Who of you thinks it's okay to drive without insurance? Who of you have pledged allegiance to this great nation, as opposed to the people who come here uninvited and expect housing, education, medication, and us to foot the bill? Now, we're all immigrants. I want to get that straight. I'm an immigrant. My whole family, we're all immigrants. But damn, you tell me first who you are. And then you tell me, what do you have to contribute to America? And then when you tell me you have something to contribute, I want you to learn American history. I want you to pledge allegiance to my country. And when you do, then you get to the back of the line behind everyone else who got a visa, came here legally, hired a lawyer, went to court, went the whole 500 miles to get it done. Then you come in. I'm tired of the nonsense. And it all comes down to truth and justice and law and order. I started the first domestic violence unit in the country. And when they told me child abuse was a social problem and not a criminal justice problem, I started one of the first child abuse bureaus in the nation. You check the New York Times. You don't tell me. You don't tell me. My point in saying that a second time is this. What are you seeing in your life that you think is wrong? Just because it's 2021 doesn't mean that we've figured out all the problems and we've got it all covered. Just the opposite. There will be things that will not strike you the right way. Things that you say just internally doesn't make sense. Your moral core tells you it's not right. You can change. I'm a girl from a small town who worked in a dairy, who was told her whole life she shouldn't be a lawyer because she's a girl. And, you know, and that she couldn't have a family if she was going to be a lawyer. I mean, you know, everything was said to push me back, not by my family. I mean, my mother, God bless her, I mean, she's not with me. She was my everything. She was my inspiration. She was my moral course. She was my muse. She was my confidant. And I thank God every day that I had her and I had that. You're going to be mothers, some of you won't. But you need to understand, just like Laura Trump told you, you have no idea as a mother the impact you will have on your children's lives. They'll be this, they'll be wise guys and all that. But in the end, you have created a person, an independent thinker, someone who respects this country. You know, I just want to end with a story about a little girl. She came to me, she was 5 years old. And I could talk to you for hours, and I've written 3 books. I've written 7 books, actually. I'm doing a book signing after this outside, but in one of the books, there's a story of a little girl, and horrible things happened. And her name was Janine. Now, I'm always the tough one. You know, I'll see guys, I'll see detectives 6'6" that I worked with, and I tell them, you know, put your balls on. Let's just get in there and get it done. But there was the one case of Janine. And I was the DA at the time. And when I saw her case and what happened to her, I brought her into my office. And she's a sweet little thing. And she leaned across on my desk. And I said to her, my name is Janine, too, and, you know. And she was very serious. She cut right to the quick. And she said to me, Janine, please don't ever let those men come near me again. She was one of 40,000 cases we handled a year. There are many people out there who need you. There are many out there who suffer in silence. There are many who have no protection. I still talk to a 5-year-old who was tied to a radiator in the basement. No one knew that he even lived there. They only knew that his sisters lived upstairs with their mother. I still talk to that 5-year-old boy. He became a social worker. I still talk to Connie, I call her in my book. Connie's mother was killed by her father. And then Connie's father raped her for 1.5 years. He impregnated her. He was a pillar of the community. Gave money to the cops, the church, everybody. I convicted Daddy of rape, and I convicted him of murder. And this is where being a woman is special. When Mom died, that mom of Connie, cops closed the books. It was a suicide. It was a suicide. She did too much cocaine. 4 years later, when the rape came to me, I said to somebody in my office, I said, pull the death of the mother. And I looked at the autopsy pictures. And ladies, I'm going to ask you if any man you know would recognize what you and I definitely recognize and what you would recognize as well. If a woman is suicidal, her manicure is not perfect. If a woman is suicidal, especially if she has black hair, her eyebrows are not perfectly tweezed. The autopsy photos speak to you. If a woman is suicidal, she doesn't fall dead wrapping Christmas presents for her little children. I pulled the case. They'd said, oh, you know, that Janine, she's nuts. You know, I wasn't nuts. I was right. So my message to you is very simple. It's time for us to recognize that we are a great nation because we understand law and order, because we believe in law and order, and it is time to take our country back. It is time to stop listening to the left, and it is time to protect the citizens of this country from the benign, malign nonsense that the left is selling. And I don't want to hear that everybody does it. I don't want to hear about political correctness anymore. I want to hear about America. I want to hear about all of our being morally right and not politically correct, because that's what's going to take you to your path of success. God bless you, and God bless America.
Exciting announcements. Judge Janine is going to be doing a book signing downstairs, and we have such a crazy schedule. I want to try to, for anyone who wants it, we'll take a picture with every single person here. We're going to do that downstairs, and so bear with us. If you guys want to wait in line, I'll take a picture with anyone who wants to tonight, for all of you that came from across the country. How many people from Texas here? Wow. Very well represented. And so we want to do that. And for those of you that are not yet involved with Turning Point USA on campus, please do that. We have high school chapters, college chapters. This is a call to action for you today to get engaged and get involved on campus. So we're going to see you guys downstairs. I'll be right down there to take pictures. We'll see you early tomorrow morning. God bless all of you.